So, no, I wouldn't say I have a passion for HR.
Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital revolution. We'll be talking about Howard Schultz and his apology tour. The Starbucks CEO may need to swear on camera that he will stop violating labor law, specifically National Labor Relations Act through the National Labor Relations Board. This is a hilarious one, to be honest, although sad for baristas as well. Um, so let's get it right into it. Let's get started. So we'll talk about this. Starbucks has displayed egregious and widespread misconduct in how it handled the unionization of its Buffalo, New York stores. And the problem here, not the problem, but the nature of this is that most likely the corporate overlords, the corporate people who handle these things were implicitly or explicitly involved in how it handled it. And so most likely they're doing these things across the United States, not just in Buffalo, New York, but in anywhere else that's being unionized. I don't think this is like a isolated area manager or something of that nature. I doubt that very strongly. As a result of this, the company must reinstate and make whole a number of workers who were let go from locations in and around Buffalo. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on because it's interesting how widespread the violations are and how bad it is. So there's a reason he's going to have to make a public apology, Howard Schultz is, because it's pretty bad. So we'll move on to that to the nature of the allegations and what's going on. The link on this is down below if you want to check it out and if you want to learn more. It's a really interesting case study in what is current labor law in the United States. So there were 32 unfair labor practice charges. And what that is an unfair labor practice, just broadly, generally speaking, this isn't sort of a technical term, is a situation that the company has done something wrong against the union that violates the National Labor Relations Act. And in this case, it's the Workers United Union, and it's a result of what they did from August of 2021 through July of 2022 in the 21 stores in the Buffalo area. Starbucks has been facing a lot of unionization across the company. And what's really interesting about the unfair labor practice charges is that if a company fails in successfully defending an unfair labor practice charge, they do have to outline it. It's a little bit like an OSHA charge in many ways, where you have to outline it in the company workspace, and also, serves as a source of shame for these companies, which is good. Options are pretty wide and varied with respect to this. The complaints include um, promising increased benefits and increasing benefits and better terms and conditions of employment, the idea that they'll dilute union support by hiring new employees, uh, and then moving employees around. So, for example, they would take pro union employees to stores where there was a chance of unionization, and then um, they would have them vote, which as a result would cause the vote to lose. They would temporarily put them there. They would write up and fire employees. They enforced rules selectively and disparately by applying them more strictly against employees who engaged in union activities, and retaliated against employees for filing charges or giving testimony under the act by discriminatorily issuing discipline, including termination. So, these are really serious charges, and these are really, from my perspective, sort of no duh. It's a little bit absurd from an HR perspective that these were even considered or even engaged in, because they were going to be so blatant, so obvious, and not successful at all, especially when you have a National Labor Relations Board under the current administration. There is absolutely no way that they would have gotten away with this. And that's, that's really the crux of this, and the crux of the National Labor Relations Board's arguments. This is pretty blatant. Go over all the violations of the act. They violated it by soliciting complaints and grievances from employees in response to union activities. They announced seniority-based wage increases, granted them, photographed employees engaging in union activities, stationed additional managers at problem stores, removed the ability of store managers to hire employees in response to activity, interrogating employees about their activity. By the way, this is just highlights from this reel. It becomes a little bit absurd and a little bit too much to read. I just want you to know the violations by Starbucks. Next up, they threatened employees who would not be able to pick up shifts, threatening employees with the direct loss of a direct relationship with the management in response to union activity, instructing employees to engage in surveillance of other union activities, instructing employees to report other employees' union activities themselves, prohibited employees from discussing the union with customers while permitting conversations with customers about other non-work subjects, temporarily closing stores in response to union activity, extending the closure of stores indefinitely in response to union activity, permanently closing a kiosk in response to union activity, requiring employees to pay for parking at company-sponsored events in response to union activity, prohibiting employees from using a third-party chat platform to switch shifts, refusing to permit shift supervisors to disable mobile ordering in response to union activity, promoting employees in response to union activity, delaying employee transfers, constructively discharging employee Helen Higgins by enforcing a new minimum availability requirement, disciplining employee Angel Krimpa because Krimpa gave this testimony to the NLRB, uh, the investigating employees by their because of their union activity, and the list goes on and on. If you're interested in the specifics, you're able to read them. Just stop the video, read, and move on. It's incredibly interesting, and it's something that Americans should understand their rights with respect to this. And I cannot encourage that enough. Please understand your rights under the National Labor Relations Board and the Act. What do you think about today's video? Please comment down below, like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.